Brad Whitmore spat the words, his voice slicing through the calm afternoon like a whip. He jabbed his finger toward the wedding celebration unfolding next door, fury blazing in his pale blue eyes. The manicured lawn beneath his Italian loafers trembled under his stomping feet. He stormed across the grass, phone already pressed to his ear, his voice loud enough for every guest to hear. "No one. I'm calling about a gang gathering disguised as a wedding," he hissed, venom dripping from every syllable. "These thugs are probably casing houses right now. Send every unit you have." On the other side of the white fence, Samuel Jefferson, tall and dignified in his tailored tuxedo, froze. His jaw tightened as the ugliness of prejudice poisoned the joyful air. Angela, radiant in a white gown, clutched her bouquet tighter. Around them, soft classical music faltered, violins dying into uncertain silence. What Brad didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that this call would be the biggest mistake of his life. 3 months earlier, Samuel and Angela Jefferson had moved into their dream home at 1247 Maple Drive, a colonial-style house with a wraparound porch shaded by ancient oak trees. It represented everything they had worked for: 2 decades of discipline, brilliance, and perseverance. Sam had climbed from street prosecutor to federal appointee, fighting for civil rights cases that changed lives. Angela had redefined pediatric surgery, saving countless children and earning international acclaim. But Brookhaven Estates, with its million-dollar homes and whispering hedges, was not ready for them. The first time Sam jogged around the neighborhood, Brad had stepped into his path, arms folded. "Excuse me," Brad had said, eyes narrow. "Do you live here?" Sam pointed toward his porch. "Yes, right there." Brad smirked, hiding his disgust behind a brittle smile. "Just making sure. I like to keep an eye on who moves in around here." The message was clear. "You don't belong here." Over the next few weeks, the harassment escalated. Brad complained to the HOA about Sam's vintage motorcycle being too loud. He accused Angela of trespassing when she watered her own flowers. He told anyone who would listen that certain people were bringing down the neighborhood's value. At HOA meetings, Brad held court like a petty king, bragging about his connections. "I golf with Chief Collins every month," he would say proudly. "The mayor's been to my barbecues. I keep this neighborhood safe. No one dared challenge him." Not out loud. Only the elderly Johnsons would whisper quiet support to the Jeffersons, too afraid to speak publicly. The wedding day. By the time the Jeffersons' wedding approached, the air around Maple Drive was charged. Sam's federal judicial appointment had just been confirmed. He was weeks away from becoming a federal judge, a man whose rulings could shape the nation's future. As dawn broke on the wedding day, Sam stood before the mirror, adjusting his bow tie. Outside, workers decorated the yard with white tents, floral arches, and cascading lights. Angela emerged from the bathroom, glowing in satin. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. Sam smiled, kissing her forehead. "I've been ready my whole life." By noon, luxury vehicles lined the street. Federal judges, prosecutors, attorneys, and marshals stepping out like dignitaries. The scene was elegant, powerful, and joyful. But across the hedge, Brad Whitmore paced his lawn like a caged animal. His own life was unraveling, his real estate business failing, his wife exhausted by his bitterness, his children avoiding him out of shame. Watching the Jeffersons' success ignited a hatred that devoured what little humanity he had left. "Not in my neighborhood," he muttered. "Not like this." As the ceremony began, the violins played again. Angela walked down the aisle, radiant with grace. Guests wiped away tears. Sam's voice trembled slightly as he said his vows. For a moment, it felt like peace had returned. Then Brad picked up his phone. "The 911 call, 911, he barked into the receiver. "This is Bradley Whitmore, president of the Brookhaven Estates HOA. I'm reporting major criminal activity at 1247 Maple Drive. Large group of suspicious individuals. Luxury vehicles that clearly don't belong. This looks like gang activity disguised as a wedding." He raised his voice deliberately so the guests could hear. "I know Chief Collins and Mayor Hayes personally. They'll take this seriously." Within minutes, the call went out over police radio. "All units, priority call, Brookhaven Estates. Possible organized crime activity. Caller is verified HOA president with city connections." Officer Rebecca Martinez frowned as she and her partner, Rookie Sergeant David Carter, sped toward the address. "Something's off. That's the home of Samuel Jefferson. A federal prosecutor. Carter gripped the wheel tighter. Doesn't matter who it is. We respond to all calls the same. But the rookie's words carried the arrogance of inexperience and the seeds of disaster. Collision. The police cruiser rounded the corner just as Sam kissed his bride. Red and blue lights shattered the golden moment. Guests froze. Champagne glasses hovered mid-air. Brad hurried toward the flashing lights, face flushed with triumph. "Thank God you're here," he said loudly. "These people have been disturbing the peace all afternoon. Look at those cars, and stolen probably. I told you criminals were moving in." Officer Martinez stepped out, scanning the elegant decorations, the wedding attire, the calm faces. Everything screamed celebration, not crime. "Sir, is this your event?" she asked Sam. "Yes, we have all required permits," Sam replied evenly. But Carter cut him off. "We'll need to verify registrations and check IDs. Everyone step away from the vehicles." Brad's smirk widened. "That's right. Don't let him sweet-talk you. These people know how to fake paperwork. I've seen this before. Criminals hiding behind fake respectability." Angela's hand trembled in Sam's. "Sir, this is my wedding," she said softly. "I'm a surgeon. These are judges, attorneys. Anyone can claim to be a doctor." Brad laughed cruelly. "Check her credentials. Probably fake too." The breaking point as the tension escalated. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison and U.S. Attorney James Davidson stepped forward. "Officers," Davidson said firmly, "you're harassing federal officials at a private wedding." Brad rolled his eyes. "Oh, sure. Now they're all federal employees. How convenient." Sergeant Carter hesitated, torn between reason and Brad's authority. "We'll need to search all vehicles," he said finally. "On what probable cause?" Sam asked, calm but cutting. "Reliable complainant," Carter replied stiffly. Federal Marshal Robert Torres intervened, badge gleaming. "You're about to violate multiple federal statutes, Sergeant. Think very carefully." But Brad, sensing Carter's uncertainty, went for the kill. "Search the kid," he shouted suddenly, pointing at Angela's 8-year-old niece. "Children are perfect mules. She's probably carrying drugs." Angela gasped, shielding the girl. "She's 8 years old." Brad laughed unhinged. Fake emotions. Classic manipulation. Carter called for backup. Sirens screamed through Brookhaven Estates. The peaceful wedding transformed into a siege. The moment of truth. Just as Carter raised his handcuffs ready to arrest Sam, Judge Morrison's voice thundered. "Sergeant Carter, stop. You're about to arrest the newly confirmed federal district judge for the Northern District." The world froze. Carter's hands trembled as the cuffs fell to the pavement. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sam reached into his jacket, pulling out his federal appointment papers. The gold seal gleamed in the fading light. "I am Judge Samuel Jefferson," he said quietly. "Confirmed by the United States Senate." Brad's mouth fell open. His face drained white. "That's impossible." Chief Collins and Mayor Hayes arrived seconds later, both looking as if they'd stepped into a nightmare. "Dear God," the mayor muttered. "This is a civil rights catastrophe." As realization dawned, Brad's empire, and his illusion of control, collapsed. Chapter 2. The Reckoning. The fallout came swiftly. Within days, the incident became national news. Federal judge harassed at wedding by racist neighbor. The FBI launched a full investigation, uncovering Brad's emails, donations to discriminatory groups, and a long trail of racially motivated HOA complaints. 3 months later, he sat in a federal courtroom, the same courthouse where Sam would soon preside. His once proud posture was gone. He hunched like a man crushed by the weight of his own hatred. "Mr. Whitmore," the prosecutor said coldly, "you turned prejudice into policy and used 911 as a weapon." The jury took 2 hours to convict him on all counts: civil rights violations, false reporting, and conspiracy against federal officials. Brad received 3 years in federal prison, fines, and mandatory community service. Sergeant Carter received 2 years and permanent disbarment from policing. The case sparked nationwide reform. The Jefferson Protocol mandated federal oversight of racially motivated police calls, bias training for officers, and penalties for weaponizing law enforcement. Law schools studied Jefferson versus Whitmore as a landmark in modern civil rights law. 6 months later, Judge Jefferson took his oath beneath marble, pillars engraved with the words "equal justice under law." His First ruling expanded protections for minority professionals facing harassment, ensuring no one else would endure what he and Angela had survived. Epilogue years later. Brookhaven Estates became a model of diversity, its federal oversight ensuring equality in education. Property values rose not from exclusion, but inclusion. Brad, in his orange jumpsuit, spoke to police cadets about the cost of hate. I destroyed everything because I couldn't accept someone else's success, he said, voice H.